Hi, this is Dr. Mary Hansen, and this presentation is on data entry for the independent samples t-test. In order to illustrate data entry for this particular test, we will use the following example. Stephen Schmidt conducted a series of experiments examining the effects of humor on memory. He collected a set of humorous sentences and then modified each one to produce a non-humorous version of the same sentence. The humorous sentences were then presented to one group of participants, and the non-humorous sentences were presented to another group. Each group was given a test to determine how many sentences they could recall. Data similar to those obtained by Schmidt are shown in the following table. Before beginning data entry for any analysis in SPSS, it is important to determine the type of analysis that will be run because the data setup in SPSS will depend on the particular analysis. In this example, we have two groups of subjects, one group given a set of humorous sentences, a second group of different subjects given a group of non-humorous sentences. The two groups will be compared on the dependent variable, which in this case is the number of sentences they could recall, a quantitative variable. Because we have two groups, humorous sentence group and non-humorous sentence group, and we will be analyzing quantitative data, the independent samples t-test is the appropriate test. In order to enter data into SPSS for the independent samples t-test, we will need to have one variable that will denote group membership and a second variable that will contain the data. In the variable view screen, I will enter a variable called group, and I will give it a label of group membership. The values that the group membership will take will be 1, which will represent the humorous sentences group, so I add that, and the value of 2 will represent the non-humorous sentences group. So I add that and click on OK. Then I will need a second variable that will be used for the dependent variable or the data, which in this case is the number of sentences that are recalled by each participant. Now that I have my two variables set up, the first variable denoting the group membership and the second variable denoting the data, I will go to the data view screen and I will enter values for these variables. In this particular case, I have 16 members of the first group, or the humorous sentence group. So I will enter a 1 denoting each of their group memberships, and then I'll go ahead and enter the dependent variable, which are the number of sentences. Those data are 4, 5, 2, 4, 6, 7, 6, 6, 2, 5, 4, 3, 3, 3, 5, 3. Recall that in SPSS, each row represents an individual. So row 1 will represent the first person that is in group 1. That person had a data value of 4. Once I have the first group of data entered, I want to enter the values for the second group. In this particular case, the second group subjects also equals 16. So I'm going to have the data for the second group where their group membership is denoted by 2 and enter the data value or the dependent variable in the data column. The data will be 5, 2, 4, 2, 2, 3, 1, 5, 3, 2, 3, 3, 4, 1, 5, 3. It is important to note when running an independent samples t-test that because we have independent groups and different subjects in each of those independent groups, we have to have one variable that will denote the group membership and a second variable that will denote the dependent variable or the data that will be analyzed in the independent samples analysis. Again, recall that each row in SPSS represents a single person. In this particular example, I have 16 people that are in group 1, and I have 16 people starting at case 17 and going down to case 32 that are in group 2. The first column will denote group membership. The second column will contain the data. That is the appropriate setup for a data set where you need to run an independent samples t-test. This presentation is by Dr. Mary Hansen.